right, good morning everybody, and thanks for joining us today for our monthly 3CX webinar. This webinar we're looking at the latest we know about version 20 and also just a bit of housekeeping for the end of year preparations. So as you can see, even from my webinar slides, we have changed our name. So Soft Solutions is now Blue Chip Infotech New Zealand Limited. That all occurred on the 1st of November, and I'm still having an identity crisis. I'm quite often good at calling out, going, it's Megan calling from Soft Blue Chips. So not quite the company name we were after. Now, with this new platform that we have today, there is a Q&A option for you to ask questions as we go along, and I'll review those at the end of the webinar and try and answer all of those. Plus, we'll allow obviously time for more questions. I'm going to try and stick to our bite-sized format, and value any feedback on the new platform that we're trying out from Zoho today. On the line with me today, I've got Karen, who's our technical specialist, and I'm just going to buzz through as quickly as we can because there's a lot to unpack in a short time. So for the agenda today, we're going to cover off version 20. What we know so far through the betas and bits and pieces that are occurring, a quick recap on the activation server, and then sort of that holiday season planning for not just your customers, but also for your own 3CX partnership, a reminder of the resources and how to keep up to date, and then of course we will wrap up with the Q&A. So this is the timeline so far for version 20. So it was the end of September that the preview for version 20 was released. And then come November, we saw beta 1 of the new 3CX Windows soft phone, which is downloadable from the Microsoft Store, which told us that we were getting close to the beta coming out for version 20. And then on the 21st of November, we had update 9 for version 18, which is a requirement to upgrade in the future to version 20. And we also had the first beta for version 20 drop on the 21st as well. By the 22nd, 3CX had already released what are the gotchas for upgrading to version 20 because you're upgrading a Debian version. And then on the 23rd of November, we saw the beta 2 for the new Windows soft phone. So the idea of this new Windows soft phone is to replace the legacy soft phone and also the desktop app. And then we've also got betas of the new mobile apps getting ready for version 20, but obviously still work with version 18 as well. So let's drill down on this a little bit further of what we know so far. Some of this I already covered in the webinar a couple of months back and in our newsletters, but we'll just recap from the preview right through and what's changed, and we should see beta 2 very soon as well. So key things for anybody that hasn't heard about the preview when it first came out. Version 20 is a re-architect version of 3CX from the ground up. It's getting rid of all that hard coding. It's designed for now and the future. When 3CX first launched their commercial product about 15, 16 years ago now, it was designed for on-prem deployment and on Windows. Today, most people deploy in the cloud and on Linux. So a lot has changed and a lot of platforms have become available so that 3CX is a true unified communications solution, not just a telephony system. So this is future-proofing 3CX for now and beyond for what is to come. We say goodbye to the management console in version 20, which obviously has been slowly happening over the last few months anyway, and we say hello fully to the admin console with all the final moves going from the management console to the admin console. A big change in version 20 is that the groups become departments and departments become much more powerful. So in Windows AD language, those departments are organizational units. Each department will have their own office hours, their own holidays, their own time zones, their own language settings. and that is no longer at a SIP trunk level. So a lot of people are used to configuring all of that information at the SIP trunk level. That will not be the way forward in version 20. It will be done by department. Really works for organizations that have multi-offices around the globe, or departments that work on shift work, those types of things. So it's really thinking about how people use telephony and how hybrid workers work today, because things have changed. What we know is coming in future updates, which is also related to the department, will be that each department will be able to have their own 3CX phone book and their own CRM integration. So you can integrate something, say, like Salesforce with the sales department, and Zoho Desk, for example, with the support team, or those types of things. So they're really thinking about how people are using this technology. Other things we learned in version 20 preview were about the new Windows soft phone, which I've already talked about. Also about the real core focus on the call manager. So this is a massive focus for 3CX in version 20. Better information equals better outcomes. So that's things like accurate reporting, usability for users, just all of that information will drive a better outcome for everybody. We know that Debian 12, which was only launched in June this year, will be the new installer for version 20. And for those upgrading from previous versions to the new, that will be part of that upgrade process. They've also announced 2 new APIs, which are designed for experienced developers. So, you know, I don't wear that technical hat, remember. But they are one on the configuration side, which will allow creation of users and settings. One on the client call control side, which will allow access to real-time information. So things like user status, call status, and being able to control calls. So a lot that you'll be able to do with those new APIs when we see those in the future. Other core things in preview, which obviously carries through to the beta, is troubleshooting, improved events information so that you can actually get to the heart of what's occurring. There will be a VoIP quality monitor, which can be initiated by a user at the extension level. So intermittent issues will become easier to troubleshoot and will become less reliant on sort of Wireshark captures and those types of things. They still will be needed for high-level support, but the reality is we don't actually see a lot of high-level support for 3CX these days. It's more of, what's the best way to do this? How should I do this? Those types of things. But everything will still be there if it is ever required. Some key prereqs that were announced were any on-prem instances, because there are still some of those out there, will require split DNS. There's been a blog already about split DNS, and they've alluded to a conversion tool. So we will wait and see what comes out. There's been no further information on that just yet. At update 6, the system owner was introduced into version 18. Every instance must have a system owner to be able to upgrade to version 20. And believe it or not, there are still some without system owners, so that's just going to be enforced. Global office hours that are set at SIP trunk in version 18 will need to be reconfigured at the department level in version 20. So that's a prereq there. And perpetual licenses will not update to version 20. And as we know, they're converting perpetual licenses to subscription ahead of their renewal timeframes. Then we had update 9 zip in. Just last Friday, I believe it was, our time overnight. So this is paving the way to go to version 20. It is a requirement or a prerequisite to go up to version 20. It's enforcing that a system owner must be set, and it's also updated some of the VoIP provider templates, and it's getting ready for the Debian 10 to 12 migration into version 20. Now, update 9 says it is a beta. What I have been advised at this point in time from 3CX is that it will remain a beta, and I know that is of concern to a few people. The reason they're doing that, I'm not fully clear on, I have asked for some further clarifications. And if I get more information, I will obviously share that with our New Zealand community as well. But update 9 is a beta, it is ready to go. And we'll be updating our internal system just tomorrow to that one as well. So I don't normally put our production system on beta, but based on the advice, we will be doing so. So beta 1, which came out last Friday, had a clear focus around the phone provisioning and 2FA or two-factor authentication. Okay, so phone provisioning is being revamped. You will have seen over several updates now that they're making that methodology much more simple. Two main methods are your RPS or your plug and play. And they've added some features into beta 1 that weren't in the preview. So that's things like time zones for the IP phones and DECT phones, phone logo provisioning. There's a lot more to come in beta 2 is what they've advised. And the user guide has been updated online already for version 20 beta test systems around that phone provisioning. In terms of kind of the core logic behind it, for most things, you will specify the model and the MAC address. Then the provisioning URL is created and sent off to the RPS server. Then it's as simple as plugging in the phone. It will provision automatically. It'll obviously connect to that RPS server and do the configuration. If you're still preferring the plug and play, the local LAN or via an SBC, the phone will show up under the PMP phones on the admin console. Remember, we don't have a management console, and then it will allow you to assign the extension at that point. So you can see from the little screenshot that I've grabbed off their system that it is, getting more and more user friendly as we go. So two-factor authentication, SSO for your single sign-on, and user creation is another core focus. Being able to import and export users. They've brought back that old extended input format that people were asking for. They're starting to enforce more requirements around their passwords, and this is something I've been talking about since March this year, or April this year. So they now require one special character. I highly encourage our partners to be getting their customers to use password management solutions so that those passwords are secure, they are random, and they are hard to break, because people are always going to try and get into systems. There's also an improved reset password mechanism. I had to test that out myself because I forgot my password, bless my cotton socks. And then Office 365 and Teams configuration is another thing that is being worked on. And remember, the Teams integration is going to be reworked at version 20 as well. So that will be during the early life of version 20. That's still to come. And then you can easily configure which calls of which department a user can see. So you can actually stop users being able to see calls of other departments in that type of scenario as well. So we're certainly starting to see that evolution of all that work that's been done during version 18. Other key things that they've worked on is around the trunks and the call manager updates. So lots of codec, CDR for your reporting, on call costs and all those kind of things, being able to import and export provider templates. And one thing that I was really happy to see for our customers that are using the call flow designer is that you can add and delete CFD scripts in version 20 beta. The version 18 scripts are fully compatible with version 20. Now, for those of you that have been with 3CX for a long time, you remember that normally we sort of have a pause on call flow designer, we go to the new version, and then it comes back and kind of update 2 or 3. I'm reading into this based on the information provided to date that that's not going to be the case with version 20. So that's really good for those of us partners that are using the CFD already. Loads and loads of tweaks to the system. I'm not going to go into all of them. You can read it on the blog for a lot more detail, but one of the ones that I picked up on, which has been a bit of a bugbear for some customers, is in a call queue, if a user forwards their phone, so they've gone on holiday for 2 weeks and they forward it off to reception, it'll automatically log them out of the queue and stuff like that. So those queue calls aren't getting diverted off to reception or anything like that. There's an updated system dashboard with info like recording data and that kind of stuff. They've improved a lot of the screens in terms of the backup and those types of things. Call handling's been improved, where we're really starting to see this product come into its own. And there'll be a lot more of that occurring in beta 2 as well. So I've already covered off the requirements about split DNS and a system owner. Obviously update 9 for those systems that will be upgrading. At the moment, I'm expecting people are just setting up a new install for testing themselves, because this is a beta, not a production ready product. Another thing coming is that every extension will require a valid email address. So in beta 1, if that's empty, that's okay. In beta 2, it will actually disable that user or extension. So we do have to have emails, so you need to think about that when you're setting everything up. The other thing that's been announced, which is really important to highlight, is that the machine specifications have changed. Machines must have 2 cores and 2 gigabytes of RAM. Any upgrade trying to happen on a single core or 1 gig RAM machine will fail, and that's part of the document that they've released already about people upgrading from their test systems on version 18 to version 20. If the source list has been edited in any type of way, that will cause a problem as well. And the way around that will be the good old-fashioned backup and restore into a new system. And it does need sufficient disk space. Now, these are minimums, and most of our partners I know have machine specs that are far exceeding what the minimums are already. So I don't see this being a big problem here in New Zealand, but it is something to highlight because it has caught people out already that are moving up through the beta. Okay, so there is a full blog, as I mentioned, on the gotchas. So the common things are exactly that: not meeting those system specifications, the source list has been edited, not enough RAM. Those are the common things that are happening. So remember, for your Linux installs, it will be updating from Debian 10 to 12. It's a 2-step process during that upgrade. So it'll go to Debian 11, then up to Debian 12. It is all automated. You just got to let it run its course. And you can refer to that blog if you need to. I've shared that on our LinkedIn closed group. But I can always flick you the link if you need it as well. Right, on to the new Windows soft phone. So this is downloadable from the Microsoft Store, which gives you a lot of comfort in the security of the new Windows soft phone. You can see that it's starting to evolve. So beta 1 of it, so we had a preview with preview 20, then we had beta 1, which added in the BLFs, which are also linked up and synced up to your web client as well. They've also added Tappy, which is a feature that not everybody uses, but when people do want to use it, they're constantly crying for it. And it was originally only in the legacy soft phone, then it got added to the desktop app recently, but it's coming through in this new Windows soft phone. They've also added the links to voicemail and recordings and those types of things into the soft phone as well, which was beta 1. And then we'll flick the page and we've now got beta 2 of the Windows soft phone. So beta 2 of the soft phone, still just beta 1 of version 20. So there's a new incoming call notification. Not sure if you can see that on your screen, but you'll see in this example that they've shared, you can see what queue that call is coming from. So information based on the contacts in the phone book, plus the routing information of where it's coming from, whether it's a ring group or a call queue and that type of stuff. And that, of course, in turn will also lead to that better reporting, because we're already seeing that on the interface for the calls. So good to see that information, something that has been asked about for quite some time. Mobile apps are readying for version 20. I have an iPhone, so I use Test Flight on my iPhone, so I'm always updating to the latest beta of the mobile apps. I'm like, I should be the guinea pig. I don't tend to have any problems. So both Android and iOS have new beta 2 updates for the mobile apps, supporting the latest operating platforms on each of them. The Android has some car phone features that have been added. There are some restrictions around car phone stuff with Android, and that's something that Android have committed to resolving. So 3CX are really happy about that. Another little issue on the Android was that if you were on a call on your device and another 3CX call was coming through, you'd actually hear the ringtone, not just that subtle beep that you normally get that there's another call coming in. That's been resolved, so that's really good. And then on both platforms, they have done some work with the JSON web tokens, and that has resulted in 40% faster connection times. So it's just seamless. It's a really good feature that they've added in there. On the iOS, there's a lot of improvement for chat transfers and those types of things for those that are using the chat functionality, which is obviously a really cool feature of 3CX as well. What else do we know that's been announced through various blogs, through conversations that I've had with the teams, those kind of things? So we know reporting is a really core focus for them. We know that wallboards and switchboards and improvements to those, and potentially an outbound wallboard is also on the roadmap, but that's a potential. There's some changes with some onboard video conferencing changes for additional security that are going to come through. The receptionist view is going to have some updates to it, and that will be hand in hand with the new Windows softphone as well. There's group SMS coming through, that redesign of the Microsoft Teams integration that has already been announced. CRM changes, we know that there'll be journals of the call recording path and able to do full transcripts. That's to come during version 20, not at initial launch. And just one thing that I get asked about is the call recording path. Can anybody listen to that call recording? No, it's still restricted based on what you've got set for that. So there is still some security around that. And then they have talked about a multi-instance self-hosted SMB, which is their new solution, but that would be restricted to higher level partners, sort of platinum and titanium, that type of thing, but no more information around that as yet and what that might look like. So not sure whether that will have legs here in the New Zealand market, but we'll keep a close eye on that one. Just to recap this, because this is catching people out and we need to be aware of this, especially going into the holiday season. The SSL certificates for 3CX got updated. There is an investigation going on. I haven't seen any results of that investigation because they had it happen twice, and this was back in September. They had to release update 8B, and that is required to be able to connect from version 18 update 8B to the 3CX activation server. Update 9 also will obviously connect to the activation server. Why is that important? If you renew a license for us and it's on version 18, update 7, for example, the APIs will allow that order to go through. You think you've renewed the license, it's just going to all work. Because that instance cannot connect to the activation server, it's not going to extend for its 12 months, and it will actually end up locking, even though the license has been paid for and all those types of things. So very, very important that you ensure your customers are on update 8B or update 9, ready to be able to do that. So you don't want to have to rebuild systems over the holiday break because you've renewed the licenses and then it doesn't actually work. So that is the key reason that I'm really pushing that messaging, because it is catching people out. So holiday season, I cannot believe that Friday is going to be the 1st of December. So we need to think about planning, which I'm sure you've already all been doing, but I'm just doing a quick recap. So from your customer perspective, you've probably already reached out to check if they need some updated IVRs over the holiday season with their maybe shortened opening hours or their close down periods and those types of things. They might be wanting their calls rerouted or forwarding on to an emergency contact, that type of stuff. If you're going on skeleton staff, ensure your customers know how to get hold of whomever will be looking after things across the holiday break, so that there's no stress if something did happen that they need assistance with. Other things to think about during that quieter period, and I say this every year, but January's getting busier and busier, is, is there maintenance required? Are there updates that need to be done? Do you need to do a system health check? Is the system doing what they need it to do? Do they need some routing changes? Have they updated their passwords? If they haven't updated them this year, I would highly recommend that that's a project that is done with customers. So just thinking about those kind of check-ins with your customers and that type of stuff. The other things from your perspective, from your partnership side, is have you met your revenue requirements for 2023? So when you log into your partner portal, top left-hand side of the screen will show your revenue in US or EU, and they treat it the same, retail values, so not the price you pay to us, for 2023. And it will tell you if you have maintained your current partnership level, or whether you still have some revenue to go, or whether you're even close to going up a level and that type of thing. So if you're close to moving up, you might want to think about buying some stock licenses to get you across that hurdle. The 2024 targets from 3CX have not been announced as yet. My gut instinct, and this is not based on 3CX information, this is my gut instinct, is that those targets will go back up to what 2023 targets were meant to be. You'll remember they reduced them back down to the 2022 level when they extended all the licenses out for 3 months. So consider looking at your partnership. Are you just about to roll to the next level? If you want to have a conversation, just reach out to me. Happy to chat. Look at what the US retail value of different things are. You might want to bring some January licenses into December, that type of thing. If you've got licenses due to expire late December, early January, are you closed? Are we closed? Order early to ensure no disruptions. And you'll see I've put a little note here that my wonderful team of elves will be taking a break to recharge their batteries. So we close Friday the 22nd around midday-ish, and we'll be back on Monday the 8th of January. So there will be a period of time, so you need to plan ahead for that. So just, ensure that you don't leave everything till, 12:05 on Friday the 22nd of December. My team have been getting a lot of urgent queries recently, and our team is really, really stretched. It's a busy time of year. They do their best to help you where things have been left until the last minute, or something's not quite happened how you expected it to. But they're getting a lot of queries, so please try and plan ahead. It really, really helps my team as well, and they are so obliging. Remembering to keep up to date. Technical trainings. What I do know is the exams are written, the exams are ready. They will become available when version 20 launches and the new portal updates all happen simultaneously. When that's going to be, I can't tell you. We are very, very eager to see those new technical trainings available so we can start running those trainings around the country in 2024. But, fingers crossed we'll get those soon. In terms of our communications, you should have all got my monthly UC channel update yesterday. If you didn't receive that, reach out. We'll get you added to the list and we can share a copy to you. Our weekly newsletter has events and that type of stuff. There's also an events section on our website. If you still type softsoul.co.nz like I do most of the time, it'll redirect you to bluechipit.co.nz, and there's an events section there that you can check things out as well. We also have the LinkedIn Blue Chip UC community group. That is a private group that I monitor and add information to. So my job is to go and check what's happening, make sure those latest blogs are shared and that type of stuff, because I know you don't have time to do that. And then it hopefully hits your feed and go, oh, I need to check on that. So if you need help signing up to any of those things, just let me know. And we finally get to the end and I say thank you. I'm going to have a sip of water and I am going to zip back and see if there's any questions coming in. Please use the Q&A option to ask any questions that you may have. And I'm just going to have a very quick sip of water and then I'll start answering any questions that have come in during this. But for anybody that's needing to zip off quickly, thank you very much for joining us today. We do appreciate your attendance. And let me just have that sip of water and we'll get to the questions. 1 minute. Okay, so questions coming in. What about generic extensions? Would they need a valid email address? Yes, they will. You can use a dummy email, but it needs to go somewhere. So, you know, if you've got a ring group or a queue or whatever, you can set up those emails, but it does need to go somewhere. So a dummy one is only as good as if it goes somewhere or is redirected somewhere. Drag and drop transfers on the new Windows soft phone. So as Karen's mentioned there, Aaron, she'll double check that, but my belief is that is coming. That is the most asked for feature around that. So there's a bit of a standing joke that if there was a world apocalypse, the only things that would be left in the world are cockroaches and the 3CX original soft phone, because it just keeps going. We use it internally ourselves. It just does everything everybody wants it to do. So I believe, cross fingers, that will be coming if it's not there already, but Karen's got a test system set up and she'll do some testing and we'll get back to you on that one. Do we know if the new Windows client will be able to link to a desk phone by the time it becomes general availability? I believe that is the goal, because that is, you know, something that is a requirement. So I believe that's the goal. We are at beta 2 of it, so we'll see some more along with a version 20 beta 2 as well. So we'll start to see some of that. There's still a few phone provisioning things that aren't quite there in the beta 1. And phone provisioning is a key focus for them. So I expect to see some changes in beta 2 of the version 20, which will hand in hand go with the new Windows client. New Zealand SMS provider. So we've actually got a platinum partner that is already rolling out SMS here in New Zealand. There is no interop provider from 3CX in New Zealand, but there is a way around it. I can put you in touch with that partner. They are prepared to wholesale that through other 3CX partners. I can definitely put you in touch. Just reach out to me and I'll give you the details. We'll do an introduction. Will the legacy 3CX soft phone work on version 20? Good question, and I don't know. I have asked that question. I haven't had an answer yet. So my guess is that it will, because people are not going to give it up without a fight. And 3CX know that. So my guess, and that is a guess, is that it will. But we'll have to test that out. We need to put the latest beta on our test system. Unfortunately, Karen's been off sick for a few days, but she'll be getting onto that later today and tomorrow. Has 3CX talked about releasing a proper installer for the new Windows soft client because the Microsoft Store can get disabled by businesses? No, that will be from the Microsoft Store. The reason behind that is the added security and the added peace of mind of that being rechecked by Microsoft as well. Microsoft also check the ISO build of the actual instance because they do that for the Azure platform as well. So no, it won't be. How will the 15% cashback offer work in the new year? Good question. Still waiting. More information will be coming out. I know they're preparing at the moment to extend out the free licenses, the 4 simultaneous call standard licenses. They have to be registered correctly, remember? So they are working on that. I believe that's going to happen mid-December sometime. They're also doing the conversion of old perpetual licenses to subscriptions as well. The 15% cashback, I believe they're going to cut that around distribution and it will be direct with 3CX, which obviously we're not that happy about, but it's probably the only way that actually makes sense and works for 3CX to be able to do that. But we'll get more information. There'll be a calculation. They'll send all that information out in the new year. I'm not even sure exactly when they'll apply that, but they will honour it, and more details will come on that. I've started my version 20 testing. Yep, absolutely. There's definitely things that are still missing in version 20, and it is only beta 1. So I do know 3CX used an alpha internally themselves before we got to beta 1. They've already alluded to a number of things that will be resolved in beta 2. It's a work in progress. But Graham, if you've got that list, yep, flick it through to me. I will definitely send that on to the right people. I'll also check the forums to make sure that those things are listed already, because we've got a list that we're building ourselves as well. It's all about communicating with them and making sure that we get the resolution that we need. Oh, you've just tested that soft phone for us. Fantastic. That's good. And it's working fine. No, 3CX have not updated the version that lands on Azure as far as I'm aware, Mark. It is something that I have raised to them because it was actually an update 7 build, not an update 8B build, which is the only one that can connect to the activation server. I haven't had any updates on that as yet, but will continue to monitor that one as well. All right, heaps of questions today. Thanks, team. Looks like they're slowing down, so hopefully we've answered most things. Okay, I'll give everybody a few more seconds and then we will wrap up the webinar. Doesn't look like there's anything coming, but as always, you can reach out to us. You can get us on UC for the generic. It's at bluechipit.co.nz now. If you still send to SoftSalt, it will just be forwarded. Don't panic. As I say, I still have that wee identity crisis. So yeah, lots of information there. We will share this recording to you. As more information becomes available, we'll let you know. Thank you once again to everybody for joining us today. We really enjoy the support of our community here in New Zealand around 3CX. And we will catch you sometime in December. I will probably just throw up a really short update webinar on what's happening with version 20 because there'll be more information to share, I think. But for today, thank you very much. I'm going to end the webinar. We really appreciate your attendance and we will hear from you all soon. Thanks, guys.